2 decades ago, the Russians ignored who is now one of the world's billionaires, and today they're after Elon Musk. Elon Musk just did this and it changed everything. Want to know more about it? Stay tuned in this video. Welcome to Elon Musk Rewind. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell icon to get updated with Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, and everything about the billionaire Elon. Imagine the feeling of holding all the cards when the tables were turned, and you were in control. Well, that's where Musk stands at the moment. Elon Musk is once again flirting with Russia, but this time he holds all the cards. In September, the brisk and brilliant billionaire announced that he had planned to open a factory in Russia for SpaceX. Considering that Russia is the first nation ever to complete a space mission, Musk is open to the idea of establishing factories there because he could access an experienced workforce. There's no doubt that the aerospace industry in Russia has some of the most brilliant minds in the world. Further, SpaceX's management is currently determining whether this project will prove to be feasible in the long run. But I'm sure you're wondering, why Russia? Because it seems that their space program is virtually non-existent right now, but Musk obviously doesn't think so. At a Russian aerospace conference, Musk explained to a video audience that SpaceX has already established production sites in the United States and China and is now looking to build factories in several markets around the world. Then, Elon Musk received a special invitation after the interview by the Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade, which I will share a little bit more about with these statements. Quote, "Dear Elon Musk, we are delighted to learn that you're considering building a factory in Russia. By the way, we have a number of state support measures for local OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. Come to see us. We'll talk about it." End quote. Besides, it's a rich space heritage. Russia also has very little investment in the electric vehicle industry, which will no doubt appeal to Elon Musk's Tesla. As a matter of fact, the auto industry in Russia is not currently working on any large-scale electric car projects due to a lack of charging infrastructure throughout the country, which could deter consumers from purchasing electric cars. Further, there are a few electric car companies backed by huge infrastructure, but not every electric car company can match Tesla's. With Russia's population of over 144 million people, Musk could see Tesla's electric cars making their way into the region. Earlier, we said this is not Musk's first time with Russian space technology. The first time Musk tried to invest in the country's space technology didn't go so well, to say the least. That was in 2002, and Musk was 30 years old and had just launched SpaceX. Back then, he had time and money, but rockets were something he wasn't equipped with. Furthermore, rockets were still too expensive in the United States at that time. That's why there were very few aerospace players at the time. In response, Musk turned east to Russia, a nation that once dominated the space race, but had since fallen out of it after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Likewise, a severe budget deficit also plagued Russia's space program, and they were in desperate need of funding. At the time, Musk was a multi-millionaire worth more than $200 million, and he visited Russia to meet with Russian space officials. However, after having visited Russia 3 times in a row, Musk had had enough. This was because whenever they met, they would jack up the price of rockets because they wanted to be bribed. As a matter of fact, Musk was assaulted by one of his rocket designers when they were speaking about his rockets. During the negotiations, he gave the impression that his rockets were weapons of war and not something that can be bought by rich Western capitalists for the garage. This is all the designer wrote for Musk then and spat all over his shoes and his colleague Jim Cantrell. That is why he had given up on Russia and would create his own rockets instead. Today, here we are 20 years later and the tables have turned. And space officials of Russia are beseeching Elon Musk for investments in Russia's aerospace industry. SpaceX's CEO was just recently contacted by the head of Roscosmos on Twitter, Dmitry Rogozin, after he tweeted the latter with a pretty hyped-up invitation, as quoted, "Good afternoon, Mr. Elon Musk. On October 5th, a new expedition will leave for the International Space Station. We are planning to send a cinematographic group of the leading television channel as part of it. Our task is to tell the truth about manned flights." The tweet was followed by another quote, "About the constant risk and tremendous emotional impact of all spaceflight organizers. I'm sure you understand me well. If you succeed, I would be glad to see you on October 5th in the cradle of world cosmonautics at the Baikonur Cosmodrome." and they believed that Rogozin's ending of the thread freaked Musk out. He then wrote, "I would be glad to meet you personally. Come, we're waiting for you." The invitation was extended to Musk by Rogozin on the same day that the TASS reported that Rogozin had extended a formal invitation to NASA Administrator Bill Nelson for a meeting. As NASA's press secretary Jackie McGinnis stated, Mr. Nelson is looking forward to meeting Mr. Rogozin once the COVID-19 restrictions were lifted. However, it's unclear whether Rogozin is asking Musk to appear for an interview or whether he is interested in talking about something more meaningful and in-depth. Yet Musk and Rogozin haven't really been seeing each other, so it's also strange they would be invited together. In fact, Rogozin regularly expresses dissatisfaction with Musk and SpaceX and how they conduct business. Elon Musk of SpaceX was accused in an opinion piece by Rogozin published in June of 2021 of trying to discredit its competitors through sarcastic jabs at Russia's space program while using dirty, underhanded tactics to discredit its rivals. But now, Rogozin appears to have changed his position, relating to SpaceX and other commercial spaceflight companies generally. Rogozin called it a great accomplishment for the aerospace industry and a transformation for the company. Additionally, his remarks included references to Russian billionaires and oligarchs from home. According to him, rich Russians would rather build yachts than develop spacecraft, a statement that got a positive emoji response from Elon Musk. Also, Musk has regularly belittled and mocked Russia's space endeavors in previous years. Occasionally, he would make silly jokes about Roscosmos. The strange thing with this scenario is that in recent years, Russia's space agency has turned its back on NASA, distancing itself from other nations that are driving the international space race. In this light, Rogozin's invitations to Nelson and Musk are even more difficult to understand. So, for what reason is he treating them so well? For what purpose? Does the Russian government have an ulterior motive? Reddit users posited that the Russian space agency was trying to convince Musk that it is difficult to launch human beings into space through its investigation into the matter. Because it is an achievement achieved by the Russians more than 60 years ago, perhaps they just want to reach a deal as soon as possible with NASA and SpaceX. However, it's impossible to predict whether Elon Musk will accept Rogozin's offer, as both SpaceX and Tesla have been insanely busy to date. Musk has been juggling his time between the two companies plus Neuralink. Therefore, Musk probably doesn't have much time to sit down with someone he hasn't spoken to for quite some time. This is like seeing Bezos and Musk having a tea party at a New York coffee shop. Isn't that crazy? It's sort of like Rogozin's version of Bezos. Also, Rogozin's invitations underscore just how bad it's gotten for an agency that used to be a leader in the space race. And almost 20 years ago, this country was the first to launch a tourist into space. After the collapse of the USSR, Roscosmos has been in financial trouble. Even Rogozin admits some of the RS's ambitious dreams were achieved by Elon Musk, and he praised him for being one of the most organized minds in the space industry after most of Roscosmos's ambitious projects had to be shut down due to the collapse of the Soviet Union. In addition, as a pioneering inventor who isn't afraid to risk it all for humanity's future, he went on to say that Musk should visit Russia and become a VIP of the family. And the purpose of his visit is to discuss with SpaceX all the potentials of exploring the universe, finding extraterrestrial life, and considering alternatives to preserving life on Earth. As part of the space race, Rogozin also hinted that Russia was less interested in collaborating with other countries. As soon as some of the harsh sanctions imposed on Russian corporations and their international operation were lifted, Rogozin boldly announced that Roscosmos would leave the ISS program. As a result, the sanctions have been lifted immediately, unless they work together. Otherwise, they will not cooperate and will build their own stations, as Rogozin had boldly declared in June. Combined sanctions imposed by the US on Russia hindered any US company that had affiliations with the Russian military from doing business with Russian companies. Moreover, Rogozin predicts that by 2030, Roscosmos will launch its own space station if the US continues in this direction. However, it seems now that Roscosmos wants to cooperate with Elon Musk and open Russian borders to SpaceX. This illustrates how good a job you do will always get you an invite, even if you don't like the person. With that being said, do you think that Musk will succeed in expanding the aerospace industry in Russia? Or maybe he'll think about it again like he did 20 years ago. Here's my 2 cents. Be careful who you ignore. That's all for this video about Elon's SpaceX, and thank you for watching. If you would like to receive updates about him, make sure you click the subscribe and bell button.